All right, guys, welcome to today's math class. And today we're going to talk about two real quick examples. One is how to graph equations in standard form, and the other one is how to graph horizontal and vertical lines. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my board, and we're going to go over examples 4 and 5 from your textbooks, specifically on page 92. So, an equation in standard form, guys, is pretty much written in the form of y equals mx plus b. But sometimes when that equation is not solved for y, you'll have something similar to this. So let me get the pages real quick in the book. You'll have something similar to this one. It says 5x plus 2y equals 10. Now, we're being asked to graph this function. And normally you would probably think, well, I'll just solve for y and write it in y equals mx plus b or slope intercept form, and then just go ahead and graph it. But this equation is written in standard form. So what I'm going to do is just find the x and y intercepts respectively to graph it. So to find the x-intercept, all you're going to do is say that y equals 0. Okay, so x-intercept, we're going to say y equals 0. Y equals 0. So what that means is that I'm going to write my equation, but instead of writing 5x plus 2y, I'm going to say 5x plus 2 times 0 equals 10. And of course, when you write 2 times 0, you know that that's going to be 0 and equals 10. See if I can write that 0 a little better. Equals 10. And it's very simple. All you're pretty much going to do in this case is just multiply 2 times 0 is 0. Now, you can include the 0 and do the extra step or not. It really won't make a difference because technically when you have a 0, it's, it doesn't have any value, right? But just for the benefit of those students who need to see that extra step, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But again, it's not a requirement. So 5x plus 0 equals 10. You could just basically move the 0 to the other side and change the operation. So we would say 5x equals 10 minus 0, or 5x equals, oh, you know what? Let me just do the whole thing. I'll subtract 0, and I'll subtract 0 here. And of course, if you want to do it this way, again, it's not necessary. This will just cancel out, and you'll say 5x equals 10, and then just divide by 5 to get the value of x. So you'll say divide by 5, and x equals 2, because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So you have x equals 2. And that gives me my first ordered pair. X, my first ordered pair. Now, how do I get an ordered pair from this? If you would be asking yourself if all I did was find the value of x. Well, remember that at the beginning of this, when I did the first step, I said that y equals 0. So if x equals 2 and y equals 0, that means that the first ordered pair that I have to graph this function is 2, 0. Now we're going to do the same thing, but instead of looking for the x-intercept, we're going to look for the y-intercept. And it's the same procedure. So y-intercept, and I'm just kind of abbreviating it, y-intercept, y-intercept. And you say, well, x equals 0. In the case of the y-intercept, now we're going to say that x equals 0. And basically what that means is I'm going to do the same thing I did in my previous step, except that instead of saying 5 x plus 2y, I'm actually going to say 5 times 0, 5 times 0 plus 2y equals 10. Plus 2y equals 10. So again, I know that 5 times 0 is 0. And again, if you're one of these very visual students, which is fine, I'll do that extra step for you. So 5 times 0 is 0. And of course, that would be plus 2y equals 10. And then if you want to get rid of the 0, again, you don't have to do this step. You can just go straight into the part that just says 2y equals 10. But if you want to do that extra step, if you want to see why that's the case, then just subtract 0, right? Because, well, there's no such thing as negative 0, but we would just do the what you would normally do in an equation, and that would just leave me with 2y equals 10. And then let me just bring this down real quick so I can have that extra space. You would just say 2y equals 10, and then just divide by 2, and that would be 5. So you would say 2y equals 10, divide by 2, and y equals 5. So I have my second ordered pair if y equals 5. So if y equals 5 and x equals 0, the second ordered pair that I have is actually 0 and 5. Now, with these two ordered pairs that I got from each step, 2, 0, and 0, 5, I can now graph my function. So let me just go ahead and graph that over here. Okay, so the first ordered pair that I'm going to have is 2, positive 2, and 0. So let me go ahead and change the color. I'll use blue. So 2, 0. So this is 1 and 2, and then 2, 0, and then the other ordered pair. And so this would be the first ordered pair, 2, 0. And then the other ordered pair that I have is 0, 5. So I'll just go 0 is down here. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'll just plot that point, and then we'll just kind of connect the dots here and have our graph. And this is what the graph should look like, more or less. And there you go. So that's what the graph would look like: 0, 5, and 2, 0. And that's pretty much example number 4. Example number 5 is real easy. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. If you have any questions, you can always pause and rewind the video. So in example 5a, we have just the value of a variable. And in example 5a specifically, they want us to graph horizontal and linear functions. And in 5a, we have y equals 2. So they're saying y equals 2. And I was explaining in class that when you have something like y equals 2, and you want to graph it, y equals 2 always means that the graph is going to be horizontal. So when you have, or y equals any number, if you just have y equals any number, that means that the graph is going to be horizontal. So what I did, or what I explained in class, is that for graphing purposes, to graph this function, we'll say that x equals 0, and we'll have the first order pair, right? X equals 0. So that means that if x equals 0 and y equals 2, the first order pair that I'm going to graph is 0 and 2. So this is 1 right here, and this is going to be 2. So 0, 2 would be the first ordered pair. And technically, when you have a graph, or when you have or when you're being asked to graph something like y equals 2, it means that the line is just going to be horizontal. And what that means is that x is going to be, y is always going to equal 2, but x can be any number, in this case from negative infinity all the way to positive infinity. So when you have when you're being asked to graph a line and it says y equals 2, that means that y is always going to equal 2 in this case, and x is going to be any number. It doesn't have to be exclusively 2. It can be y equals any number. So that means that in this particular graph, y is going to equal 2 and x is going to be any number. And in 5b, we have the opposite. We're going to graph a vertical line, and the graph just says x equals -3. So what this is saying, x equals -3, is that no matter what number y is going to be, x is going to be -3. Okay, so I'll just say, y0, just so we can graph at least one ordered pair, and then pretty much from there go on. But basically, it's telling me that no matter what number y is in this case, x is going to be -3. So we'll go ahead and draw our coordinate plane here, and we will graph our function. And x is -3, so that means that we would plot the point in the left-hand side. So this is -1, this is -2, and this is -3. And again, -3 and 0, so that means we'll plot the point here. And because x is going to be -3 no matter what number y is, what that means is we're going to have a vertical line, and that's pretty much going to be the case anytime you have something that says x equals -3. So guys, hopefully this short video, today was short, will help you guys understand this. So stay safe, and we'll see each other in our next class. Bye.